Okay.
Yeah.
Let's salute to Rap House TV on IG. They posted this post that definitely caught my attention. I'm sure it would immediately catch most people's attention. So, Japanese scientists have now reportedly found a way to erase all unwanted human memories in the brain. Yes, you've heard that correct. It goes on to say researchers at Kyoto University in Japan have been exploring an advanced technology capable of altering memory function specifically to erase, suppress, or weaken certain painful or unwanted experiences stored in the brain. While the majority of studies remain in early experimental stages and are mainly conducted on animals, initial human trials have shown encouraging signs. Scientists believe that with continued development, these breakthroughs could one day help individuals struggling with PTSD, addiction, and other trauma related conditions by targeting and removing the neural triggers that reinforce those memories. So, I mean, still want to keep relatively light, but it's kind of delves into like some real like meta like science like ethical practice. um, I think I'm trying to think of what if there's like a movie or like a piece of content in media that kind of relates to this story, but I think, I mean, at the very least, we all remember the Men in Black memory erasing pen. But yeah, I
Have
think.
y'all seen Severance yet? Because it's kind of a
Oh,
similar vibe.
I have not, but yeah, that's actually good. It's actually not one to one. It's obviously not one to one, but yeah, that is a good piece of media, a good show to reference. Anyway, I think we all kind of thought about in some shape or form the um, concept of potentially intentionally removing something from your memory. You know, whether it's somebody did you dirty, a painful traumatic memory like that, or, maybe a breakup, a pet died or something. Try to keep it so relatively light. We all have memories of painful experiences that we've had, and you know it's kind of like trying to move towards like a utopian society type of thing in my mind. But I think to some degree, um, I think this is something that most, if not if all, people would want to make use of to some shape or form. Um, I have some articles that kind of get into some of the nittier grittier because obviously with something like this, like again, it's to Rap House TV, but I would want to get the I don't want to kind of get more do my research on my own to kind of get find out how they actually do this, not just get here from a secondhand third party predominantly hip hop related media page. But regardless, yeah, our first hearing. What do you guys make of this? Is this something that you think you could potentially want to make use of? Um, this method slash technology of literally erasing memories. What do you think, Ghost?
Before I give my answer, can we just circle back on the fact that Rap House TV is is posting this with their own little AI image? Like, what's the correlation? It's off topic, but I just it's if you're gonna post a random shit like this, why's your name Rap House TV?
I mean, that kind of gets into the whole dynamic of like, at the end of the day, like all these pages are like media pages at the end of the day, and while most, even like shade rooms and Hollywood Unlocked, they typically stem from things that are like news from the culture, news from hip hop. At the end of the day, like if you really want to continue to amass larger audiences, you want to post stuff that's going to capture a person's attention. Like you can post stuff about like I don't really want to engage in this. You can post stuff about like Snoop Dogg and Keith Lee and Tupac. Yeah, Tupac. You can post stuff about rappers and hip hop all day, but if you really want to continue to catch people's attention, you got to show them like, hey, Japan's doing some new cool shit. Hey, check it out.
Fair enough, I suppose. Start getting off topic, but uh as far as if I would actually employ this technology, I mean, no, just kind of um, off of the fact that anyone messing around in your brain not only is scary just from a what if they screw up perspective, but also just seems like
Too.
all right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. I don't know what the hell just happened. I don't know if y'all got any of that, but uh, off the rip, I'd say no because for one, the thought of someone rooting around my brain and picking and choosing memories to delete is scary. And like if something goes wrong, and then for two, from a biblical perspective, it just
What do
doesn't
you
seem
mean?
like
You choose it. You choose the memories that you get. It's not someone. It's not someone randomly
dog.
choosing what gets deleted.
I
I think
feel
it's
like
more. I think
that
it's
process
more.
would be too finicky.
I
And
think
like
it's more
I guess
interesting if you're
even
asking the ideal scenario. Like in the ideal scenario, if you choose the specific memories and you can be sure that that they're only going to select what you want to get rid of.
all right,
What do
yeah,
you
I guess
choose?
assuming that there's no absolutely no chance of anything going wrong at all. I would still have a hang up because from a biblical perspective, it doesn't seem like God would want us to go through and pick out bad memories. It just doesn't feel like natural.
Hmm.
If I was to entertain the idea of, I guess, just from an applicability standpoint, like if there were absolutely no drawbacks.
Sorry.
Oh, I thought that was me. If there were absolutely no drawbacks, I mean, I suppose it'd be nice to not have certain memories, like probably mostly like embarrassing ones. But overall, the benefit, I don't know how much good would come of it besides like I just wouldn't have to think of certain things. Granted, I don't really have anything that like keeps me up at night racked with guilt, or I don't have like PTSD from like any traumatic memories, so it'd be probably a lot different if I was in that boat. But just as I am now, um, I think I think there is some value in having negative memories and experiences, if not for a learning experience, just because kind of like a baseline of like this is what life could be like if you don't lock in. But yeah, I mean, I most likely would not go this route. But again, I do see some value of like in an ideal scenario situation where someone is racked with guilt over something, an accident that happened to them or someone they were close to, or they can't sleep at night because they keep remembering memories of when they were in a war or something. Like there's definitely use cases for it. It's just me personally, I would not do this.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's interesting. Um. Well, I always think about things or try to tie in things from like a scriptural, spiritual, religious, however you want to frame it standpoint. We might get into that because I wonder if you could make the case that there's some implications that I don't want that the ones I wouldn't want to delving into with this. I don't inherently see that. I don't know. Scriptures come to mind, but obviously not everything is gonna have a clear coded like thou shalt not erase memories. um. Yeah. Before we get into that, what about you, Ace? Um. Would you ever want the? I was gonna say the brain blast, but I guess it's the opposite of a brain blast. Would you ever? Do you ever think you would invoke this type of technology slash methodology?
No, I wouldn't. Um, and I think mostly because it's like it's offloading. It would be offloading um a functionality of my brain that I would want to I would want to learn or be able to control myself. So I can't think of any traumatizing memories per se. but there are some things that like
Yeah,
come into my mind.
we all have negative memories.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There are some things that come into my mind occasionally that will just kind of stay there and be on loop, and it could put me in a bad mood. But I would rather acquire the mental skills um like come to an acceptance type mentality, uh a mentality of learning from and moving forward from those memories versus um not having that skill and becoming reliant on something else to do it, because who's to say I don't um continue to run into these situations where I want to delete memories because I continue to have negative experiences. Um,
What's wrong
and
with that?
what do I become if I just keep on Swiss cheesing parts of my memory um because I can't handle it? Like
Don't you
it
become an overwhelmingly positive
maybe
person?
I don't think so. I think it I mean, you could look at this like a a worst case scenario type uh uh analysis of it, but I think it could get to the point where you're reliant on something else for your mental well-being instead of your own mind. And I, that I don't know, it rubs me the wrong way. Like I would rather become or yeah, acquire those mental skills versus over time versus um like choose an easy way out type thing. And I would equate it
I mean, we don't
to
know. Oh,
like I would
well, it's
equate it to
quote
working
unquote
out
easy.
too. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would equate it to like working out too, where um that's another thing I would like. My mentality is that I would rather go through the long journey of um getting to like my physical um ideals or goals, and accepting that it's going to be a long journey, and also seeing the journey as like part of the destination in and of itself versus um choosing some easy way out, like I mean, again, easy quote unquote, but steroids, for example, if there were no negative or downsides to steroids, or like body augmentation, if there were no downsides to that, like I still am am very much in favor of doing those things myself and going through and living life and going through the hardships of getting to that point where I want to get to um versus just offloading that to technology.
Hmm.
I mean that's life at the end of the day. Like just picking and choosing the good of life is not really living life in my opinion.
Dang. Obviously, there's things embedded in that I think we can all always get on board with. I definitely don't agree with that last sentiment. Uh, well, I don't want to get debatey already. While obviously there are unavoidable things in life, life should largely be about curating a life in which you are at your most content. Um, and not to say that it should we should instantly go towards taking routes that don't require higher levels of work or effort. To be honest, by and large, we do that. Like, even to be honest, before you even mentioned the working out thing, I that came to my mind in the sense of like, uh, you could argue quote unquote natural versus like unnatural means, but we use outside methods and in conventions to get to like higher places of contentness. Like like the reason why I was thinking about working out is because like when we, and again some of these things are relative, but when we talk about like developing like things that will improve our mentality, uh like if we're using if we're using whatever method comes to your mind, whether it's working out or if it's reading or talking or like these are all like in theory outside means. We're not just reworking our brain naturally to overcome things or to better deal with these things. We all use outside means. It's I don't want to say no different, but it's kind of along the line of like we use technology to make our life more efficient and effective. We don't do things by hand. We're not crafting everything that we use. We're not uh, generating all our food from scratch. We're largely are making these technological advances. And yeah, if and all we all have the discretion to use these things in the way that we desire. At the end of the day, I think people, by and large, again, do want to have the most content life. I don't know if that isn't fully in line with some of that rationale.
I get where you're
Yeah, I
coming from, but I kind of don't agree in some aspects. I just to quickly, I'll say my piece, Ace, and I'll let you go. But uh, I don't think that people do things for entertainment or enjoyment to snuff out the bad parts of life. Or I don't think they should do that. Like, I don't think doing something fun necessarily overwrites doing something bad. It's kind of a tandem deal.
I mean, I think it's like it can be both. I think people do things that they enjoy or that will give them entertainment because that is what the human brain wants or desires. But at the same time, I think we've all heard of a person like, oh yeah, I just went to something difficult or whatever the case may be, so I'm going to like give myself a break or I'm going to go take a trip or I'm going to go consume something. Uh, and sometimes those things can have, as long as they're not like used to like as long as they're not like overused or some form of some type of addiction, I think that no one would say that's an issue. If you have a
But
bad
I
day at
think
work, if
you're
you have a
not
bad day at work and then you go to your one of your favorite restaurants, nobody would say that's a bad thing.
but you're not doing I don't think you should be doing those positive things to block out or overwrite the negative. It's more so about healing from the negative, and the easiest way to heal and
These scientists
is
would
do something
describe
that you
what they're doing as
enjoy.
healing.
What'd you say?
These scientists would describe what they're doing as healing.
You could argue that, but I think there was a distinction because the whole like people that get into alcohol and drugs like to ease the pain, that is smothering negativity with distraction or fulfillment or contentment, however temporary it may be. I think that's different because like what you're describing, like you take a trip or you go do something you enjoy. Yeah, get your mind off something, but I think there's a difference in having something forcibly taken from you or forcibly you're forcing yourself to through external means, I guess, in the form of like literally altering your brain chemistry, or if you get drunk out of your mind so you just can't think, or you're getting your memories completely taken from you. I think there is a distinction between that and actually dealing with an issue, processing it, and then healing from it. And I mean, I might be splitting hairs here, to be honest. Like, I mean, maybe what you're describing is the equivalent, but I do think there's a distinction that it's not just, oh, I'm X bad thing happened to me, therefore, if I do Y thing that I enjoy, it's going to completely get rid of that negative. I don't think that's how things should be, and I think that this is kind of falling into that methodology, and that can be dangerous.
The problem with one when we talk about like drugs and alcohol, because yeah, some people would kind of attribute that to be kind of an equivalent thing. These things have like undeniably, verifiably negative consequences when we use them. Um, Not to say this, not that anything is without cons or side effects, but for all intents and purposes, it's not going to put you in an addictive, body destroying, like liver destroying, like all the things, all the adverse effects that come with these things.
I could see people getting addicted to this easily, very
Yeah,
easily, very, very easily.
yeah. Even if there's
I mean,
no
we can say,
negative
but
side
one,
effects
we
in terms
no.
of, even if there's no negative side effects in terms of like um inherent addictive nature, like what do you call it? Nicotine has the me the the way our brains are wired to go after things that we deem to be pleasurable or good for ourselves. I think people will get addicted to that in and of itself, like that method of coping, where like, okay, maybe you start with deleting things that are, truly 99% of the population would say are traumatizing. And then it's like, okay, well, what about the things that are just embarrassing that you didn't want to, you don't want to keep
What's wrong? What's wrong with
reliving?
getting rid of that?
Okay, well, I'm saying it this is a slippery slope argument, but I think it is a slippery slope to the point where it's like you're only keeping memories that are quote unquote happy, and then it's like, well,
Y'all are
what are
not
you
answering what's the
left
problem with
with?
that.
Hmm?
Y'all are not answering what's wrong with that.
I mean, to me, I don't think you're living if you're cutting out giant pieces of your memory. Like it's I would equate it to something like this, like
I would
the
say giant
Matrix,
pieces.
essentially. Like if the machines put people in a perpetual state of bliss, would I choose to be in the Matrix versus actually live life? I would not want to be in no pod just in a
All
in a
right,
perpetual
Neo,
state of mental bliss.
but we're not. You're still living a day to day life. You're still like living true blue life. It's not. It's
What's the
not.
difference between what Ace just described in The Matrix and that? Like,
Exactly. You're
I think
you're
it's a
saying what
perfect equivalence.
right, because you're saying what's the problem
It's
if you
literally
just delete all of the
real,
negative
but
and you only have happy memories? I think that's very, very similar to that
and by
matrix
the way,
state of
didn't
living.
obviously I don't think anyone would agree that you want to live in the Matrix, but there are literally people in the movies or in those films or in the pieces
You're
of
right.
content
And
that
I
wanted
think
to
there are
remain there.
people that would choose it, but
I think
I'm
there's
not somebody that would
more than
choose it.
half,
And I don't think
majority of
it's
people would rather live in the Matrix than real life, but that doesn't mean that it's healthy or
100%.
good.
Exactly. Exactly.
I mean,
In my in
you can
my
say that, but you're not
opinion,
saying
it's
why it's
not.
not. I'm not talking about the Matrix. I'm talking about like living a life in which you have more, by and large, just positive experiences. Like
Okay, that's a
who wrote
fair.
the manual that who wrote the manual life should have negative experiences?
You're
Literally
asking about my
God?
opinion. No, I mean,
Literally God?
you're asking my opinion, and in my opinion, deleting swaths of your life that aren't what you deem to be happy is not living life.
I
Is
mean,
not truly
let's not take
experiencing life.
the cop out. Let's everything is quote unquote an opinion, but I'm trying to get to like the rational, like something I could potentially get on board about what we're saying here. Um,
All right.
I mean, the
I mean,
unfun
I'm
answer
happy
is
for
that
you.
after the Garden of Eden, God said, "Hey, y'all got to deal with evil now until I come back." I mean,
yes,
that's
but
again not the fun answer, but
yeah, but we don't live a life in which it's like we just have to be geared towards negative experiences. Like obviously that's not to say that we can't have positive experiences. That's not to say that we can't do things that alleviate like negative feelings or memories.
yeah, but this doing it artificially is kind of the equivalent of living in
What makes
your
something
perfect
artificial?
if it's not natural.
Okay,
This
but
process is not.
I say oh, first of all, we can potentially get more into it. It's not necessarily it's not like what this picture with this AI picture represents. But I'm just saying, like, if somebody if somebody has a bad day, like a really crappy day, and then they go work out or they go for a drive or they go listen to their favorite music, would you describe that as artificially like uh disposing of the negative memories and vibes that you had?
No, I would not. But I think again, there's a distinction between doing things to take your mind off it, slash doing things to heal from it, and just permanently deleting that memory or
I mean,
experience.
again, these
And
people, I'm pretty sure this they would by and large describe this as healing. Like, not even your
yeah,
brain's. By the
I'm
way,
sure they
when we
would.
think about negative memories, I guess because I don't want to be completely just anti what you guys are saying. I guess what you guys maybe are more focusing on is like just bad memories, opposed to like traumatic stuff. Because the crazy part is, and obviously none of us are like neurological engineers here. The crazy part is when a person's brain has experienced trauma, that's a sign of something is wrong. Like that's an unhealed brain or an unhealed person. So if you can eliminate that trauma in that brain, that's a way more healed person. Um, it'll be equivalent of like someone saying someone shouldn't like go do like a medical surgery to like remove something that's in their body that shouldn't be there, type of thing.
But healing and deleting something is there's a distinction there, at
If
least
there's
in
something
my
in your body
opinion.
that shouldn't be there, I don't want to like start talking about like C, like the big C, because obviously it's a way more complex like process. But if there's something in your body that shouldn't be there, and then you go do a procedure that removes it, what's the problem?
I think your body and your mind are two different things.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't think you
now we're
can just
really
make
trying
an
to get
equivalency.
meta.
I mean, kinda, because I get where you're coming from, but I don't think you can. I don't think it's a one-to-one analogy. Because if we're going by your reasoning when you were talking about how if someone is dealing with something traumatic and it's something wrong with their brain that needs to be fixed, that is correct. But there's many times where someone goes through trauma and their brain literally blocks it out, so they don't experience it or they don't have any conscious knowledge of it, but they can't really heal from it until they acknowledge, remember, and then are able to heal and get over that bad experience. So I think your body does, in some circumstances, do just this in a sense, but in the long run, it doesn't end up being healthy because you don't have a way or you haven't found a way to cope with it in a way that your mind can handle.
Can y'all see my screen still?
Yep.
Yeah.
So this kind of gets into a bit of the nitty gritty. Obviously, I don't think this is gonna potentially change anybody's mind, but it kind of gets into like the understanding of the methodology for all listeners as well. So this is an article that kind of speaks on this method that these Japanese scientists have kind of looked into. So I won't read all of it, but some of the details. Basically, kind of call it memory encoding. Being able to erase bad memories and traumatic flashbacks could help in the treatment of a host in a different mental health issues. And scientists have found a promising new approach to do just this, weakening negative memories by reactivating positive ones. In an experiment covering several days, in an international team of researchers asked 37 participants to associate random words with negative images before attempting to reprogram half of those associations and interfere with the bad memories. We found that this procedure weakened the recall of adverse memories and also increased involuntary intrusion thoughts of positive memories. Write the researchers of their published paper, and it shows a graphic that kind of speaks to this like memory encoding, if you will. For the study, a team used recognized database of images classified as negative or positive. Think human injuries or dangerous animals compared to calm landscapes and smiling children. On the first evening memory training exercise, so the crazy part, this is more in line with an exercise than an actual like process of like altering a person's brain. Memory training exercises that are used to get the volunteers to link negative images with nonsense words made up for the study. The next day, after a sleep to consolidate those memories, the researchers tried to associate half of those words with positive images in the mind of the participants. During the second night of sleep, recordings of the nonsense words being spoken were played. So this also kind of plays into like that not that train of thought, but that theory that like if you listen to something while you're sleeping, it's going to be more embedded in your brain. During the non-rapid eye movement sleep phase, known to be important for memory storage. Brain activity was monitored using oof, that's a word right there. Electroencephalography. Oof,
Electroencephalography.
there you go. Theta band's activity in the brain linked to emotional memory processing was seen to spike in response to the audio memory cues and significantly higher when positive cues were used. So this kind of gives a description of like the practice and the methodology. Obviously, if you feel inclined, you can dig into it more. The link will be in the description below. And there's also another article. Again, I won't get into it, but it's also via the Kyoto University. Kind of gets more into it. Shows studies that they did with mice as well. Um, I just kind of pull some of that up to um, kind of get into like the specificities of what this process looks like and whether it changes you guys is not change you whether it I guess change the perception of what this process could look like and sorry I was looking at something yeah what this process looks like and is it truly do you still see it as harmful to do certain methodologies that could help a person alleviate traumatic memories.
I will say I don't like I can't be fully against exploring this as a potential option.
Okay.
Um because we don't have a uh we don't have a set in stone way, or like I can't prescribe a way to overcome traumatic events that I know is going to work for everyone. Um I don't have that. Um the only thing I can say is for that from my point of view and like the way I think about things right now, um for how I for like how I think I should be approaching, or how I'm trying to approach um uh just like living life and like you know uh let's say overcoming negative memories or emotions or things like that is not by trying to overlay or replace or like dwell on good memories or just like living in the past in general. I think my approach right now is um to try to like just stay in the present at all times and accept with things like whether they're good or bad or whatever. And if if I do have the ability to change the way things are in the moment, definitely go after making whatever changes that I can. But if I can't, um tr- getting to a place of contentment in that exact moment without having to be like, okay, let me go back and think about X time where where things were better for me or whatever. um so because that's the way I'm trying to approach things right now. That is what leans me away from wanting to try something like this. um Maybe that would change in the future if I just get to a point where like my method just doesn't work. But but for now, that's where my mentality is at.
Yeah, that is actually 100% fair. Nothing wrong with there's multiple ways to feed a cat. Salute to PETA. Um, yeah. Obviously, this is one of those things where it's controversial. Everyone could have a different view on it. Complex because we're dealing with like the brain. So I don't know if there's a key like concise moral of the story. I would say even though I'm obviously trying to test the logic of what people think about something like this, I guess you guys did in some shape or form address this, but I think my rationale for some of this would fall in line with like kind of I don't know I can't recall verbatim what was some of the arguments for like why you don't want to be in the matrix outside of like you don't have your own free will. Um, I think is well all these things kind of deal with like philosophical like viewpoints of life. Well, some people might not view it. I think there is some credence into like a part of enjoying certain things in life is understanding that you could not have this, you could not be in this position or state, and effectively like you know the reason, or part of the reason why we know sunny warm days are so nice is because we understand what cold rainy frigid days are like, kind of type of thing. So I think in a world in which nobody truly had any negative experiences, like I don't even think we can begin to imagine like what type of species we would be, because again, well, it's a certain philosophical view, so not everyone will 100% agree that you need a comparison to enjoy something. I think we would definitely have a completely different and potentially even way detrimentally a detrimental like worldview, practices, like everything would just be completely different if you don't know what the other side looks like to truly understand how good something is or positive something is. But that's obviously just a different point of view, or although something that definitely comes to my mind when I think about stuff like this. Um, yeah, my bad. Maybe the tradition should have been structured a bit different. I didn't think it was get this deep, but um, something I'll probably bump into similar subjects in the future. But if there's nothing else for right now, we can move on to the next topic.